Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Veilguard. Dragon Age Veilguard, the latest game from BioWare, the return to form as people have called it. And we're going to talk about some discrimination allegedly behind the scenes. This is a story we've heard before with companies like Ubisoft and so forth and so on. So let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. First and foremost, I'm doing this at about 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, making this video. And let's do a quick refresh. The game came out today, and at its best, it had 70,000 players a few hours after it came out. Right? There you go. Was this the peak? Anyway, yeah, roughly around there. So that's where it peaked. And then it slowly petered out. It dropped. It lost about 15,000 players or so on a day one release. This doesn't even hit my expectations. I don't know what expectations EA had for this game, but I expected this thing to hit 100,000 players on the first day. Now, I know the game's a turd. I know it's absolutely horrible and all that, but just because of name recognition alone and the fact that a lot of gamers go into these things without researching anything, without knowing what they're getting into, it's just like, oh, Dragon Age, yay, let me get it. Yeah, I expected higher numbers on that. You know, the graphic design of the characters is just absolutely vile. It looks like a mobile game. People are saying, I haven't experienced the gameplay myself, but they're saying it's like a really bad version of the God of War gameplay. Now, I enjoyed God of War, but they're saying it's a very bad version of that. The dialogue, oh my god. The dialogue is amazingly bad. Amazingly bad. Let me see if I can find something for you here. Alright, so here it is. This is 2 minutes of some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen. Now, mind you, this is a fantasy game in a medieval setting with wizards and warriors and demons and all kinds of stuff. And this is what's going on.
Pounding that snake's nose. She's still holding the ruby in her other hand. Maker's panties. I was so proud. Shit. They're still holding it. Sorry.
What are you doing?
So right there we see this one expressing a little bit of concern because this one used the wrong pronouns on this one. And did you hear the voice on this thing? Okay, it does not fit this character whatsoever. This looks like a dude, okay, with the build and all that, and that little voice coming out of it was absolutely horrifying. But let's move on and watch the rest of this scene because, believe it or not, it gets worse. But this really cracks me up. It's like, the concern of somebody for someone else's pronouns is absolutely retarded. And I could just see these people writing this and just oozing all over each other because they're so excited about they can live out their fantasies where people actually give a shit about their weird mental disorders. But let's move on here.
Pulling a barf.
Oh. Okay.
A barf?
Tradition in the Lords of Fortune from one of our old members, Barv. Good guy, but like most of us, his plans went sideways a lot. Bad blood among your crew's not good for morale, but there's not always time for big, drawn-out apologies. So, when one of us screws up and we know we've screwed up, we do a quick 10 to put it right. Pulling a barf. Oh, there we go.
Okay. So pulling a barf. I'm not going to make you watch this whole scene. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can find it online everywhere. We're going to be done there, but we go on and see some choices here for talking. It's very open-minded and all that, and so forth and so on. They go back and forth. And she talks about how, this makes it about the person you misgendered as opposed to making it about yourself, when that's exactly what she does. She makes a spectacle of herself, walking across the room, doing the push-ups, explaining why, and all this other nonsense, and it's absolutely cringeworthy. Pulling a barf, it's more like pulling a barf, okay? And this is why we're getting games like this these days. We see the same practice with Ubisoft, and that is BioWare is allegedly discriminating against men and only hiring people who will, quote, parrot and embrace the ideology that the hires up demand. A new rumor alleges that BioWare is discriminating against men when it comes to hiring, and it's only hiring individuals who will do that. The rumor comes from YouTuber Endymion, who alleges his information comes from both former and current, BioWare employees. He shared that one of the employees who currently works at BioWare informed him that current BioWare is more woke than anyone is thinking right now. Like, they're so identity politically driven over there right now that this very instant, whatever you think it is, it's so much worse than that. Apparently it's more so about getting more women into these companies than anyone else. Men are pretty much excluded entirely unless they identify as some form of non-whatever and so on. So I guess you got to be non-binary, transgender, a furry, who knows. At BioWare anyway, as I was told, they are only interested in hiring people who they can control within the company. They want essentially what can only be considered as cultists that parrot and embrace the ideology that the higher-ups at BioWare demand. Now, this is my hot take, and say what you will about it, but women can't make good video games. Not video games that men are going to like. They're incapable of it, I believe. And I think we've seen enough games through the last 2 years with these large female contingents working on, or female directors, or non-binary directors, whatever you want to call them. They identify as whatever. I don't give a shit. But the games are terrible. The games are awful. The games are stupid. They are not fun. They preach at you. And, not to insult all women, because I'm sure there are women out there who could write an excellent game, direct an excellent game, create a cool character, come up with some wonderful ideas and all that. They're just not working at these companies, because these companies aren't looking for people like that. They're looking for people that are just going to churn out the same garbage year after year that, that's going to follow their principles, their ideologies, like they're saying. And it just baffles me. How can you want to lose so much money on a consistent basis? It doesn't make any sense to me. Endymion then stated, BioWare as we know it is a corpse being worn by EA. Yes, men, that is filled to the brim with cult-like pandering weirdos. And as this person said, once the new director Corinne Bush came onto Veilguard, that's when all this stuff got really, really bad. He continued, it seems like BioWare as its own entity is one of the wokest, if not the most, in the entire industry right now that we're aware of. This game is, for all intents and purposes, genuine propaganda on the same level as Dustborn, if not even worse. So at least Dustborn, I'm going to give Dustborn some credit here. At least Dustborn admitted that it was what it was, right? It was a game designed right from the start. There was no hiding anything in it, right? This is Dustborn wearing the skin of Dragon Age, right? This is taking a beloved IP. Now, not a beloved IP to me. I was never a fan of the series too much. I played Inquisition and all that, but this is they took the skin of this game and they just filled it with garbage. They filled it with all this weird ideology and the gender crap and that whole preaching for 2 minutes. You've got to watch that video. I'll actually link to the tweet from Smash JT. That's where I find it, or I first saw it. I'll link to that so you guys can see it for yourselves. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I really, honestly could not believe what I was watching. I felt like I was in Bizarro World at that point. I'm like, what? Am I really watching a character get lectured on pronouns? And, it's absolutely baffling. So, Dragon Age Veilguard, BioWare's latest release, went on sale earlier today and so far has achieved a peak player count of 41. Well, we saw that it went up to 70,000, but appears to be continuing to climb. Well, it climbed and it peaked at another 30, and now it's dropped back down to about only 15 more than this, which, like I said, is not as good as I expected. Now, the weekend's going to come, and I would expect this game to hit 100,000 over the weekend. Now, remember, there's so much going on around this game, right? The way they didn't give out review copies to people that were a little critical of it, that got to preview the game a few months back. That's kind of suspect. The fact that they banned Asmongold from their Reddit, I believe now, or whatever, from their I don't even know the story on that one yet, but that cracks me up. I don't know what he said on it. I heard they're trying to strike videos from the internet, like the one I just showed you, and get rid of them. They're trying to do that, but these things are out there now, and there's just too much about it. But you combine all that with this kind of garbage, and it's just... I don't get it, man. I don't get why these people put out this kind of stuff. It's this weird self-insertion, this weird fantasy that they want to live. And you can just, I'm telling you, you can just see them sitting around the room, all these girls and non-binaries and whatever they want to call themselves. You can smell the cat piss. You can smell the chai lattes and all the weird fucking vegan food they're eating. The pink hair, the thick glasses, the bad breath. I mean, you can just picture it. And they're all getting more and more excited. And then we're going to do this, and then, let's make them do push-ups for that, and then they're going to apologize, and we have to make sure they don't make it about themselves, though. It's always about the person, because it's so bad. Oh, God, dude. I hope this studio gets destroyed after this game comes out. I hope it underperforms in such a way. I don't expect it to be a bona fide failure, but I expect it to underperform massively. And if it does that, hopefully they just disband the studio completely. They got to start doing this more and more often. I mean, we've been seeing a lot about it. The Concord developers got shit canned, The guys that did Redfall, I think they shit canned that studio. Even some successful games, they're shit canning these people. But it's a real bloodbath out there these days. So, guys got to get on their toes. If you're a developer and you're out there working in the video game industry and you're working for one of these big companies, man, I'd keep my resume updated, and I'd have a good hard look at what's being produced. And if they're producing garbage like this, you're going to know it's going to fail. You may as well go ahead and get out before it's released and go try to find a company that doesn't put out this crap. Because let me tell you, anytime someone puts out a good game that doesn't have all this garbage tied to it, the game sells like mad, Look at Black Myth Wukong, look at Stellar Blade. These games just fly off the shelves and make millions and millions of dollars, while stuff like this just flounders there and just gets ridiculed. Atlas revealed that Metaphor Fantasio sold 1 million copies in its first day. So what is this? Yeah, this is Metaphor in its first 2 hours. Boom. Its all-time peak was 85,000, so it was higher than what we've got so far, only by 15,000. Like I said, I expect that number to change, But yeah, I mean, we see this with Ubisoft and their hiring, or their mentor program, I think they call it, where they mentor women and non-binary people to the exclusion of others. And it doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work. Women have a place in society. Women are nurturers. Women are the ones that, they're good teachers, they're nurturers, they're healers, they're very helpful with stuff like that. This is not their strength, man. It's not their strength. When we play video games, if you want to make a good video game, a good role-playing game, you would give us awesome characters, cool weapons, a great story, badass monsters, some cool dialogue and fun, great skill trees and stuff like that. Romance options, we don't need them, They were kind of funny back in the days of Skyrim, for instance, and all that, all those years ago. Back before they got tainted and turned into all this weirdness, it was kind of a novel thing. But honestly, I'd have no problem if they just remove them from games altogether, because it's just not worth the trouble. It's like, oh, here's some, you can have a relationship, you can have a wife or a husband. Oh, cool. Well, how come we can't have same sex? Well, how come we can't do this? Well, how come we can't do that? And where's it going to be next? You're having sex with a bear at Baldur's Gate, or whatever this is going on here in this game. I don't know. Anyway, leave a comment down below in the video. Let me know what you think of Veilguard. Do you think it's going to top 100,000 this weekend? I bet it will. I don't think it's going to go much higher than that, though. And I think the drop-off is going to be huge. Don't forget, this game was also given away with GeForce. So if you bought 6 months of GeForce Ultimate, you got a free copy of this game. So, who knows? I don't know if that was a Steam thing. I don't know if it's counted on there. I don't know how that's counted or anything like that. But that's just another thing there. The reviews, oh my God, the reviews out there were such a bunch of shills, man. And they all said the same thing, a return to form. Alright, man, I'm out. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. Peace, guys.